Hello, I'm Debbie, and this week I face the terrifying challenge of trying to bring a word of encouragement to you. Now, it is not that you are a terrifying audience. I've always found the ladies of our church to be a very faithful, godly and encouraging crowd. It's just very humbling to be asked to bring a word of encouragement to you. So I'm going to stand on the shoulders of giants and use the words of others. The first voice that I'm going to use is Rain or Winds. Now, if you're feeling unsettled because you think I'm referring to some great spiritual writer that you haven't heard about before you rush off to the nearest Christian bookshop, this is just the book that I'm reading at the minute, and the writer isn't a Christian. But in her word of encouragement, Kathy McCurry had talked about walking on the Camino Santiago, and this story is about a walk as well. And to give you a little context, this is the blurb. Just days after Rain or Wind learned that Moth, her husband of 32 years, was terminally ill, they lost their home and livelihood. With nothing left and little time, they impulsively decided to walk the 630-mile southwest coast path from Somerset to Dorset via Devon and Cornwall. And this is the story of an encounter that they had along the salt path. Two other figures wound their way up a tiny track from Pendor Cove and onto the path next to us. Old men, stooped, of similar size and age, one fully dressed in boots, waterproof and woolly hat, thin, with a sunken grey complexion, carrying a bundle of clothes. The other, slightly younger, in swimming trunks and flip-flops, a towel draped round his neck, carrying a Tupperware box. As they got closer, the movements and shape of their heads and the bickering made it obvious they were brothers. "Good morning. Are you off for a swim?" "We've just been." "Well, I have. He won't take his boots off. Don't know what he thinks will happen if his skin sees daylight. Maybe something will fall off." The swimmer was also the talker. The other brother just stood quietly with half a smile. "Perfect air this morning. Warm and damp. Great for the skin. A drop of cold salt water, a warm mist. I keep telling him, keeps illness at bay and keeps you young." He held out the Tupperware box, half full with glistening, ripe purple fruits. "Do you want a blackberry?" The blackberries we had picked along the way had been small, tart and sharp, so I only took one out of politeness. But when I put it in my mouth, it was like no blackberry I'd ever tasted. Smooth, sweet, a burst of rich, claret autumnal flavour, and in the background faintly, salt. You thought blackberries had passed, didn't you? Or you've eaten them and thought you didn't like them. No, you need to wait until the last moment. That moment between perfect and spoilt. The blackbirds know that moment. And if the mist comes right then, laying the salt air gently on the fruit, you have something money can't buy and chefs can't create. A perfect, lightly salted blackberry. You can't make them. It has to come with time and nature. They're a gift. When you think summer's over and the good stuff has all gone, they're a gift. He put his arm around his brother, now shivering and pale, obviously ill. "Let me carry my clothes, old boy, and we'll get you home by the fire." The other brother just smiled, and they walked away into the ravine. We ate handfuls of blackberries, winding our way towards Gurnard Head, our hands stained purple. I don't know about you, but my mouth is watering and I am craving a lightly salted blackberry. And I am in awe of our entirely creative and generous God, who uses the gentlest of sea mists to lightly salt perfectly ripe blackberries. This most delicious of all fruits is only enjoyed by a very select few, and of course, the blackbirds. It makes me wonder how many other incredible gifts from God we miss. So can I encourage you? Psalm 34 instructs us to taste and see that the Lord is good. We serve the most generous, creative and truly awesome God. Our minds cannot even imagine the variety of good gifts that he has for us. As the rest of verse 8 reminds us, we are blessed when we take refuge in him. So, in this season, hide yourself in him. Search out his good gifts. Enjoy his generous giving. Live with hands stained purple. And be thankful. The other thing that strikes me from this little story is the timing. In the very first word of encouragement, Kira used a passage from Ecclesiastes to remind us that there is a time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom the work that God has done from beginning to end." We may not understand why we are living in times such as these. I don't understand, and that's okay. Because at this time, I choose to trust the God who gives good gifts to the children that he loves. The God who gives lightly salted blackberries to blackbirds. And finally, a word of encouragement for those who feel that they are spoiled, for those who feel that they have passed the perfect season of their life, who feel that they are shrouded by a cold sea mist. Perhaps this good God who we serve is lightly salting you. Perhaps he is turning you into something incredible. Let me pray with you. Creator God, we know that you are good. We know that you are generous. You are our safe place in a storm. We trust you and we love you. Amen.